This is New Zealand. This is Auckland. This is an artist's depiction of West Auckland, and this would be Te Atatu South. The year is 1990 and a young Benjamin is a couple of months in, having progressed from his first console to his second console. Up until that point in time, the household had a cassette-loading BBC microcomputer, but no real idea how to load games off the cassette tapes. There was also an Atari 2600 with Battlezone, Crystal Castles, and that version of Pac-Man. This new console happened to be Sega's Master System 2. Kiwis will be familiar with this console. For many of us, it was our entry level into the video gaming world. Who can forget the built-in game Alex the Kid in Miracle World and its obnoxious song recycled for many levels. It would be a full year before Sonic the Hedgehog dominated the cartridge slot of my Master System. Up until that point, there was another game that all but consumed most of my spare time. Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap was released in 1989 and became one of my first experiences of a role-playing game, wrapped in the simplicity of a platformer, of course. Now, this wasn't my first encounter with the titular character. Arcade cabinets, or spacies as they were affectionately called in New Zealand, littered video stores and takeaways across the land. Wonder Boy, the first game in developer Westone's Wonder Boy saga, was a platformer that saw the caveman-like character run across the screen, avoiding objects, and riding a skateboard at some points. It was popular enough to generate sequels, and it is from the follow-ups that we started to develop the role-playing aspects of the series, one that has continued to this day with the popular Monster World series. Wonder Boy in Monsterland, released in 1987, was creator Ryuichi Nishizawa's attempt to cash in on the popularity of role-playing games at the time, such as the Mammoth Dragon's Quest. An arcade developer himself, it was his idea to amalgamate the RPG elements from a burgeoning genre with those popular aspects from the coin-guzzling cabinets he was familiar with. This was a success, and the game made its way to the Sega Master System in 1988, where it earned rave reviews. Westone had found its formula for Wonder Boy, and it set the company up for the widespread acclaim this series would follow up on. Wonder Boy 3 picks up immediately after the exploits of Monsterland. Our hero has made his way to Mecha Dragon's castle to slay him. Unfortunately, he is cursed after doing so, transforming into the second character in the game we control, Lizard Man. Traversing across the lands, encountering a variety of enemies in a variety of locations, Wonder Boy encounters a number of other dragons, each one cursing him into another beast until finally, after defeating the game's final boss, Vampire Dragon, the curse is lifted, and our character returns to his normal, caveman-like form. So, that just sounds like a normal platformer, and that is kind of the point. Westone captured audiences through the deceptive, childlike nature of the platform game, but dig a little, and it's a shallow dig, so don't worry about delving into subtextual elements and the like. And you discover the role-playing elements once again that add the dimension that had Monsterland critically lauded by, well, critics. The leveling up of hit points, for example, bears the hallmarks of a traditional role-playing game. Starting off as Lizard Man, the player only receives one heart, an energy bar throughout the game, and one potion in the event he dies and needs resurrecting. By unearthing new areas and opening treasure chests, the player can earn more hearts, strengthening their resolve playing through the game. They are needed, not if you're a dab hand at playing the game, but more the other RPG elements that we'll get into. There is also a currency system in the game. I defeat an enemy, I earn coins, sometimes a sack of coins. This allows the player to purchase new equipment, strengthening their character, and to purchase cures from an awkward stereotype of a candy cane nurse. But it's not that simple, you see. Not all weapons are suitable for all the transformations. Yeah, that's great that Hawkman has a samurai sword, but perhaps for a certain level, a magic sword to convert stars would be a better idea. Or maybe now I have the Thundering equipped, I should look at destroying some more bricks. As the player transforms from Lizard Man to Mouse Man to Piranha Man to Lion Man and then to Hawk Man, there are strengths and weaknesses each character brings to the table. Lizard Man, for example, can breathe fire. That's great, he's got a projectile attack as his standard attack, and he's also got the ability to duck, but that's the only means of defending against the enemy. Mouse Man can stick to walls but has the shortest attack range in the game, while Piranha Man can swim underwater, Lion Man strikes enemies from above, allowing a wider range of attacks, and Hawk Man can fly, but don't expect any fun underwater. It's up to us, the player, to utilise these characters in the correct manner, which goes back to one of the biggest RPG elements the game provides that we alluded to earlier. Yes, there is a set path in order to beat the game, but the world itself is non-linear. So if I want to try and access an area with the wrong character, I can. I don't need to unlock a certain area ahead of time. If I can access it, I can get there, which can lead to some frustrating moments. Trying to traverse a lava-filled area without equipping the correct equipment becomes an exercise in both swift agility and ultimately futility. Thankfully, the developers have enabled a password system that allows the player to save the game along with all their equipment and the current state Wonderboy is in, which for me as a younger gamer was a godsend, given I was 7 years of age and in over my head in many ways with the game. This led to less broken controllers. When Lizard Q brought out Wonderboy The Dragon's Trap in 2017, it led me to reinvest my time in the game many years later. A little bit older and a lot more wiser to the idea of role-playing games by virtue of the Final Fantasy series, this was my opportunity to really appreciate the RPG elements of the game rather than the platformer aspects a younger version of myself subscribed to. The fantastic chiptune soundtrack created by the original game's composer Shinichi Sakamoto was lovingly reimagined by real musicians, and it doesn't take away from the orchestral elements Wonderboy 3 had, but merely highlights how wonderful Sakamoto's work was on the 8-bit console. The modern graphics and the addition of Wonder Girl bring it up to speed for present day audiences. However, I'd be remiss not to mention there is an option to play the game with its original graphics, original soundtrack, and even a version of Sakamoto's soundtrack that took advantage of an FM card. The duality of Wonderboy 3 The Dragon's Trap has become apparent to me playing through it 27 years later. Westone really did create a game that was part arcade game, part RPG. I find it incredibly fascinating that as a child and now as an adult that I'm viewing this one game as two very different games. The younger version of me treated this merely as a platformer akin to the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Bros, and so forth. And as an adult, hey, I still got a lot of love for the humble platformer. It's just on this occasion Wonderboy 3 has become more of a role-playing game than a platformer. Again, duality. It's a beautiful thing sometimes.